I have 100 days in Minecraft Hardcore mode to beat all 3 of the Minecraft bosses. Only issue is, I've never killed a Wither or a Guardian and I suck at the game. So first things first, we need to create a world. Put in Hardcore mode, and on to day 1. Right off the bat, I spot a pillager outpost, which I'm pretty sure means there's a village nearby, which is good because I want to find one so I can get some free food, so let's go find it. But if we're gonna find it, we need to make our render distance thick. Next, I found some sheep who will be my food before I get to the village. The rest of this day is probably just gonna be mostly collecting materials like some wood and then stone for tools until I can go mining for iron. I found this ruined portal which had tons of gold armor, and now I'm looking drippy. Well, that's the end of the first day. I've been looking all day and found no village, but now I've got to survive the night. It actually took me 2 more days to find the village, but when I did, I noticed that the video was all messed up, so I didn't actually get a clip of it. But it was a Talga village which has no food, so it was useless. So if I can't have food, I'll at least get some stone tools going. I'm only about 2 days behind now. I found a treasure map as well, so I followed it to this chest which had some iron in it, which is alright. On night 3, I'm out of food again. I also forgot that I had this flint and steel, so I'm gonna let these pigs burn. I'd also like to point out that I'm on day 3. Speedrunners can complete this game by the start of the first night, and I'm on the 3rd, and I'm mining for iron. Right, I've used my iron, I've got full iron armor, let's get into the nether and try and find a fortress. Well, I couldn't find a fortress, but there was a bastion right next to my portal, so I decided to check it out, which I pretty quickly figured out was an awful idea because this is 1.17, and there are piglin brutes, which would kill me in 1 hit. So I got out of there pretty quickly and went hunting for a fortress. I got into the fortress and I finally started collecting blaze rods, and at this point, you can call me the opposite of Dream, because my drop rates are awful. I got 7 rods from around 20 blazes. After that, it was back to the overworld to get some diamonds to survive the bastion. Once I was back in the overworld, I started strip mining for diamonds, and I got pretty lucky, picking up 2 veins near each other and then another in a cave system I found whilst digging. Whilst mining, I decided to kill this enderman, which was a pretty bad idea because he almost killed me. But on the upside, I got my first pearl. Now that I'm fully kitted with diamond armor, I headed back to the bastion to trade with some piglins. It was a treasure bastion, so I went to the bottom to collect the gold and also found some good loot in the chests. Once I trapped some piglins, I started trading with them and I came away with 2 stacks of pearls. I went back to the overworld hunting for a village again as I was constantly low on food, and I finally found a desert village with tons of hay bales for free food. After that, it was off to the end. I threw my first pearl and followed it across about 1,000 blocks of ocean. After throwing my 3rd eye, I was told I passed the stronghold, and when I went back, I got lucky because I barely saw it, with the majority of it being covered even though it was in an ocean. I broke in and started hunting for the portal, and when I say hunted, I mean hunting for days. When I finally found it, I figured out why I couldn't get to it. It was completely separate from the rest of the stronghold, so I got lucky to even see it. What? Oh my, no wonder I couldn't find it. After that, I jumped in and threw a pearl to the mainland to start fighting a dragon. I destroyed all the towers with my 10 out of 10 bow skills and then started firing towards a dragon. Whilst I do know how to do the bed method, it's not as fun, so I decided to do it the classic way. However, I didn't really understand the mechanics of when the dragon lands, so when I got close, I got yeeted into the sky. Luckily, I had enough health to pearl safely to the floor, but when I got hit the second time, I was left on 1 heart and I would have died if I pearled, so a well-timed water bucket saved my life. Once I figured out how to get close to the dragon, I hit it a bunch with my sword and finished it off with some axe hits, and that was the first boss down of 3. Next was the Wither. Arguably, the worst part of the Wither fight is getting the skulls required to spawn it. It's a 1 in 40 chance of getting a Wither skeleton to drop a skull, and I've done this before without looting and it took me a few hours. So I decided to get looting. I built a sugarcane farm for books, but once it was at a size that I thought was good enough, I went to my village and noticed that there were 3 buildings which had 9 bookcases in each, which hurt a lot. That's an hour I'm not getting back. I used the village's bookcases and gathered some obsidian for my enchanting table, and it wasn't until I wasted over 30 levels of XP that I realized this was going to take too long to get lucky enough for looting. So I changed my tactics and started herding zombies into one of the villagers' houses to turn them into a zombie villager so I could get a looting book in trading. Once I finally trapped a zombie with a villager, I left it for a while and came back to a zombie villager. I brewed some strength potions to then realize that I needed weakness potions, and I gave them and a golden apple to save the villager. After waiting 5 minutes for it to transform back,
yay,
I started the very fun task of finding the right trade. After literally days of doing this, I was starting to think that looting is not a book that villagers can trade, but the wiki told me it was, so I kept going. Finally, I got looting 2, which I decided was enough because I could use 2 books to get looting 3. Only now, after looking into it, do I realize that looting 3 only takes it from a 1 in 40 chance to a 1 in 20 chance. Great. I made my way back to the fortress and started killing some wither skeletons. It took ages to get the first one, way more than 20 skeletons. Finally, one down. But then I got super lucky with my second. And then got really unlucky with the third. It took what felt like 100 skeletons, but I finally got it. But what I didn't notice is I hit a zombie piglin, and now he has all of his friends on me. Oh, wait, oh no, oh. Oh, shit. Whilst escaping from them, I decided to jump to a wooden block, just not very well. Oh my god! Oh my god. Build around. I'm on fire. Leave. Please do not jump down here. Please do not jump down. Where? Oh my god! Oh no! Get away. Once I was finally safe, I climbed my way back up, and I left the nether, hoping to never need to go back. Once I was out, I found this desert temple, which had an enchanted golden apple in, which would help out so much in the fight against the wither. Next, I needed to get ready for the wither fight. I've tried it before, and I've been beaten before. And since I was on hardcore, I only had one chance, so I fought tons of mobs to get XP to fully enchant my tools and armor. When it was time for the wither fight itself, it started pretty well. I bowed him down to half health without taking nearly any damage. Once again, my 10 out of 10 bow skills coming through. But once he's down to half of his health, he starts to charge you, and he got a lot of damage in. Luckily, I had my enchanted golden apple, so I had more than enough health to finish him off and survive. Honestly, I was surprised how easy it was compared to what I remember, but I wasn't going to complain as I only had one boss left, and that was the Elder Guardian. Now, not only had I never killed one of these, I've never even been to an ocean monument, so I had no idea what to expect. It started off well with a multi-day voyage across the oceans looking for a monument. The most annoying thing was, I'd already seen 3 of these in this world alone, but I don't remember where a single one was. But when I finally got there, it dawned upon me. How do I breathe underwater? Yep, I had forgot to enchant my gear to be underwater, but I didn't want to let this stop me, so I went down with some doors and entered the monument, or tried to at least. There were so many of them. Yeah, so pretty quickly I decided I would probably die, so I went back to get some enchantments going. And when I came back, I was ready to kill the Elder Guardian, because at this point, I didn't realize there was 3. After killing the first one, which was pretty easy, I looked around for the bigger boss and found a second. I attacked him, but he actually almost killed me. Luckily, after finishing him off, I went and searched for the final Elder Guardian, which I saw when entering the monument at the top middle. I searched for a day, not being able to find a route to the last Guardian, but finally going into a room which I had literally passed 4 or 5 times. Oh, there he is. And that's where he was, the final Guardian. And that was that. On the final day of my challenge, I had killed all 3 of the bosses, well, technically 5, and some of which I had never even seen before, but either way, I had won.